Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Hemmings Hot Rod BBQ podcast. On this episode, we've got Mr. Ryan Douthit of Driving Sports TV, and we've got a couple things to cover, all right? Number one, we're going to hit the new Toyota 4Runner because everybody's talking about it. It's totally redesigned, body-on-frame, hybrid, actually pretty cool. So we're going to touch on that. Then we're going to really quickly touch on Hemmings MusclePalooza. We just had a killer event down in Pennsylvania this past weekend at Maple Grove Raceway, and it was amazing. And then finally, special edition cars. Are they worth the money? This is going to be a good one, so don't go anywhere because this is going to be cool. So now, first off, Ryan, how are you today, buddy?
I am doing amazing. It's been so busy. This is right when the automotive season is starting to kick into high gear. So we've had all the announcements over the last few months, and now all of those vehicles are starting to actually show up. So between travel and production, it's a crazy time of year.
It is. It is on the bit nutty side. So let's jump right in. Okay, let's talk about the new, fully redesigned, from the ground up Toyota 4Runner because it's making a lot of people go, hey, I think I might want that. And then on the flip side, you've got the 4Runner faithful that are still stuck in 20 years ago that really love that 15 mile an hour or gallon V6 and that Asian transfer case. So
insert a comment here, like where on the forums, everybody's like, "Oh, the new one sucks. The value on my 5th gen just went up," and it's like,
right?
Not really. It's still slow and old.
Yeah. So, so Ryan, let's go through the new 4Runner first because I know you shot a video. If people haven't seen it, head over to Driving Sports TV and check out Ryan's new video on the 4Runner. It's very, very cool. But give me your opinion. You're a Toyota guy. You have a new Land Cruiser.
Yeah, I've owned 2 4Runners. I had a 3rd gen and a 5th gen. Loved them both. The only reason I got rid of the 5th gen is because I run a car review channel and I don't want to hold on to a car too long because I want to talk about what's hot in depth. So every like once a year or so, I buy a new vehicle. So I had that back in 2021. I drove the entirety of the West Coast back and forth a lot. Great vehicle, but its bones were old. The motor was old. Everything was old. It wasn't fast. It wasn't economical. I still loved it, and I know why people love those vehicles. So a complete redesign that's tough for a company like Toyota. They are not going to make everybody happy no matter what they do. And that's
give an idea about how old the 2023 4Runner
Oh boy, it was I think it was 2010 when the 5th generation was announced, or maybe the first production year was 2010. It was around there. So basically it's 14 years old. Now people will correct and say, well, in 2013 they did a redesign of the front fascia. Yes, you are correct. But you know what's even older than the 5th gen? It's actually that motor, which goes back even further.
So you're talking outdated, not efficient. It was time. It was
time. I mean, whether you love it or not, it was time to move ahead. And what they've done, I think, is really quite interesting. So if you look at the new Tacoma bones, which the new Tacoma was announced last year. The bones of the Tacoma make up the new 4Runner, the new Land Cruiser, and the new GX. And of course, the new Land Cruiser in the US is globally the Land Cruiser Prado. So that's a global platform. So they're basically building all these vehicles based on the same rough chassis. Which means that they are limited in what they can do. So if you look at the new Land Cruiser for the US, which again, globally called the Prado, I'm going to stop saying that now, but just so you know, if you're watching this in the UK, I'm referring to your Prado, not to anyway. Okay. So exact same wheelbase in the new 4Runner as the Land Cruiser we're getting. Which is the exact same wheelbase as the GX that we have. So you look at all of those and you're almost like, well, okay, well, what's the difference between all of them? And there are subtle differences that will make a difference to somebody buying it. And it's not price necessarily, which is kind of funny, because you look at the GX, I think the best option for the GX 550 is actually the Overtrail, which costs about $68,000. The first Land Cruiser that you can buy in the US is called the first edition. They're going to do limited production run of those. We'll get to that again later. That one's going to cost $77,000. And then you have the 4Runner, which we don't have pricing yet on the new 4Runner, but I bet that new Trail Hunter version is
that's going to be
about It's going to be right there.
And that's like that's the crazy part, right? Because here's the thing: the 4Runner now starts at about $42,000, right? And if you're gonna
actually way less, you can get into it like in the 30s. But that's like a stripped SR5,
a base model. So, Toyota has to keep, for the most part, the 4Runner below the price of the Land Cruiser. So, for argument's sake, let's start at, let's say the new 4Runner is going to start in the low 40s or the mid 40s.
I think it will. There'll be a stripped out version 2-wheel drive that you'll probably be able to get for low 30s.
So
I don't know why there's ever been a 2-wheel drive 4Runner, but I guess people in California like them.
Well, let me go. Hang on. I want to try something. With everybody listening to this right now, I'm going to the Toyota website, and I want to see exactly what you could buy the cheapest Toyota Land Cruiser or the cheapest.
You move
Toyota
your mic a little closer. You're past your mic.
Son of a. All right. Let's see. Toyota. Now, this is the existing model, the 2024.
Last of the 5th gen.
Last of the 5th gen.
Super slow V6.
Let's see. Okay, starting price for the crappiest 4Runner you could currently buy.
2-wheel drive.
2-wheel drive is $40,000.
No.
$40,700. Yes, it is. $40,075 in a 2-wheel drive SR5 configuration, right? So you are not getting out of a new 4Runner for under 45, 50 grand. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to be expensive, folks. So they are not cheap. Right. And you have to
I haven't looked at the SR5s in a couple years.
Yeah.
They used to have a really stripped cheap one for low 30s, but or mid 30s,
not anymore.
Maybe I'm thinking.
But here's the cool part. The new 4Runner is, again, you're ditching kind of the old Weezomatic V6. Not saying it's a bad engine. It is a bomb-proof engine that'll probably run to the end of time.
Cockroaches will be driving them.
Exactly. Well, the new engine is, again, we're talking body on frame, new technology, hybrid, 2 hybrid 4-cylinder turbos, right? You have the standard hybrid, and then you've got the IMAX.
No, you have 2 turbos, 1 hybrid, 2 turbos. So you have the entry level is going to be a turbo 4, and then the higher trims just add a hybrid system to that same turbo 4.
Gotcha. Okay, so what is the power output on the base model? Do you know?
I did.
I want to say it's something like I think it's 276 horsepower, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's around there.
And then I know that the next model up is the horsepower is not that much more, but I know it cranks out like 365 pound-feet of torque, or even more than that, some ridiculous number.
Yeah. So I got my numbers up here. Let's see. So the base, well, the hybrid will do 326 horses and 465 pound-feet of torque. That's a hefty amount of torque. Now the towing capacity. Oh, and then the lower one, the entry is 278 horsepower, 317 pounds of torque, which is still good.
Still really good.
But this is not a small vehicle. So the new 4Runner is actually going to be, it's the same size as the Land Cruiser that we're selling here in the US, not just in wheelbase, but it's actually even slightly longer. I think it's because of bumper design. It's like an inch longer than the Land Cruiser we're getting. So it's a bigger vehicle than the old one by a little bit, which should make dividends on the inside, because they are actually going to give an option for a 3rd row in it too in certain trims, which is kind of interesting.
Any idea what the weight is on these things?
No, not yet. But the we do have weight on Land. Actually, I think I'll look at the weight on Land Cruiser, because that's going to be about the same. Yeah, about 5,000 pounds. That's kind of what I was expecting.
So you're absolutely correct. Hang on. Yeah, you're absolutely correct. I think the cool part about it is listen, it's kind of like the outgoing L-Cats, right? They're still on dealer lots. You could still go buy them. You could still get your cake and eat it too. If you are a fan of that technology, because it's proven, it's reliable, go out, buy one now, stick it under a cover, or drive the hell out of it for the next 25 years. But I think I want to say one more thing for a new one. Yeah,
I want to say what the differentiation a little bit more. That the new 4Runner has more ground clearance than the Land Cruiser does, or the GX. So it's clearly targeting more of an off-roady, outdoor, younger crowd than the Land Cruiser is. And so that's ultimately the biggest difference, is the way it looks and the way that it aggressively pursues off-road activities.
Yeah. So no, that's very true. And listen, I like it. At first, when the Land Cruiser came out, I was like, I want to get one of those. Then I saw the 4Runner there, and I said, well, I kind of want to get one of those. So
I know.
I mean,
and
I know
again,
that you've got a Land Cruiser that's coming. You've got a first edition that's going to show up soon. I'm going to wait until you do your review of the 4Runner before I make my decision. And then we'll go from there. So yeah, we wanted to touch on that. But now I want to bounce to just something really quick. So, it's April. Everybody is starting to get all their vehicles out of mothballs for the winter. They're starting to run them. They're starting to drive them. We had a really kick-ass event this weekend. Hemmings did. We had MusclePalooza at Maple Grove Raceway in Mohnton, PA. And I got to be honest, it kicked ass. Like, for those that are looking, I need everybody, if you're listening, go to the Hemmings website. Go to hemmings.com/MusclePalooza, because we've got 4 events coming this year. I mean, we just had the first one this weekend, so we've got 3 more to go. But it was packed. We have drag racing, a burnout pit, car show, awards, a dyno there. It was, I think we were all looking at it. It's like we knew it was going to be good, but it was great.
Is there a place where people can see pictures of the last
Absolutely.
event?
In fact, we're getting a video together that you guys are going to be seeing very soon. But really quick, if you want, go to Hemmings Facebook or Hemmings Instagram page, and you can see some quick and dirty videos that we put up. The other ones are being edited right now. The other thing is, we actually got to run 2 of the Hemmings vehicles this weekend, which was really cool. So if you guys followed along for Fox Body Rehab, you'll know we took a 91 Ford Fox Body with 100,000 miles on it. We turned it into a period correct kind of late 80s, early 90s drag car. We did, new suspension, big fat tires in the back. We did skinny wheels in the front, Pro Charger, Supercharger. Anyway, we actually got it to the track. When we filmed it the first time, we went to a runway where it was pouring
rain. The one day it was pouring rain.
The cool part is we went to the racetrack with it this time, got Mr. Terry McGee behind the wheel, and he ran like a 1290 with it, which is exactly when you talk about the power output compared to, today. I mean, sure, but that's exactly where it should be. So we all kind of looked at each other, myself and Terry Jr. went, it worked. Everything worked. The other one that we ran down the strip was Project Rampart. Now that is our 2021 Dodge Durango Hellcat. Even with all the stuff that we put on, all the extra weight, I still went out in that thing and ran 1170s at 115 miles an hour.
Wow.
Like, that's a fast truck. And considering we used it to tow the Mustang to the track, we thought that was pretty cool.
I mean, it's a fast truck. I mean, it's a fast truck. It looks good too. I like the build you guys did on that one. That was a nice one.
It was a fun one. So like I said, if you want to go out this year, you want to play in the drag strip, play in the burnout box, just have fun. Hemmings.com/MusclePalooza for more information. I really want to see you in an event. I will be there, and it'll be great to meet everybody in person. Okay, now on to the money. We are talking about special edition cars. Do you really want one? Are they really worth the money?
I mean, the manufacturers, they really hype them, and you're like, ooh, that's special. I'm special. If I buy one, I'll be special.
Well, if you go back into the annals of special edition cars and you look at some, there are some that you just like, oh, that was a mess. And then there are others where you're like, others that you're like, that was really cool.
Yeah.
So,
and the funny thing is that some of these cars, like when they came out, like nobody wanted to touch them. And that's kind of why they're valuable now. Case in point, the Volkswagen Harlequins. Those dealers couldn't sell them. In fact, there was stories of dealers trying to take the mismatched body panels and make a complete car out of the mismatched body panels because nobody would buy these things.
Now describe the Harlequin, because some people might not know what that.
Okay,
based on the VW Golf.
They're crazy. They're basically, it's a Volkswagen Golf that every single body panel was a different color, and it was just the panel. So it kind of looked like it was this crazy modern art piece, but really all it was different colored body panels. I mean, basically, like Tesla just does that by accident, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And but this was intentional, and they thought it was this cool thing. They put it out, and of course, these days, like, if you had a Harlequin, holy moly, you are like Volkswagen royalty.
But it took 25 years for anybody.
It took 25 years,
right? So when you talk about the VW Harlequin, so is that a case of a win or one that you should have bought, or is that a case of like, I mean, if you really,
I don't want to keep a car 25 years, honestly. I'm not a caretaker. I like to take cars. I like to enjoy them. I enjoy them for as long as I enjoy them, and then I get rid of them. Because if you look at the storage and maintenance costs of these vehicles, it has to accrue a massive amount of money if you're even going to start to come close to break even on any of these things. I mean, you can say, well, I bought it for $4,000 and today it's worth $20,000. It's like, that doesn't really matter. I mean, inflation alone just took care of that. So that's not a win. So you better like it.
Okay, so the VW Harlequin, I'm going to throw one out right now. And this is going to go to any manufacturer that does this. Stop.
I think I know what you're going to say.
Okay. And I'm going to point out anything that comes out that has to do with a movie, a television show, anything like that. I'm going to pull out the Chevrolet Camaro Transformers edition. That was painted yellow.
Worse for you, though. I got one worse for you. Okay.
Because this one, I saw one not that long ago, yellow, black stripes with the little Transformer badge on the side. If you are an adult human and you're driving this,
no,
don't.
Just stop.
Just stop. Not okay. Not worth more money. It doesn't enhance your social presence at all. It does, but in the wrong way.
Megan Fox is not going to ask you out.
No, not happening. Like, don't buy those. Don't buy those.
But I got one worse in that brand, in that movie tie-in department. Okay, so what movie came out in, I think it was 2017, where the movie Everybody Dies at the end, and yet there was still a special edition vehicle made. I'm guessing that when whomever signed the deal, they didn't realize that everybody died in the movie.
I have no idea.
The 2017 Nissan Rogue One Star Wars Limited Edition.
Oh, wow. That's great. Yeah.
It's a double win. Not only do you have a movie where everyone dies, you're driving a Rogue.
And it's a lose-lose. Wow. That's okay. That's all right. I'm gonna try to up this. You can
get a black or white. So,
Oh, that's a solid one. Okay, you ready? Check it.
Sure.
This is for the Gen X and a little bit on the boomers right now. 1979 Lincoln Continental Mark IV Cartier edition.
Ooh, Cartier.
Oh, dude. I mean, pillow top seats, porthole
you
rear
can
window,
smell that
Cartier,
car. Just
Cartier
saying
clock in the dash. Like that is, you always see these things pop up. And
I think that's called like the divorced dad special.
Right. Yeah, dude. You have that. You had the Gremlin, the Levi's edition, right? And there were certain things like manufacturers. I get it. I understand that you have a marketing person that needs to make their bones in their monthly nut by giving you good ideas.
Somebody ran into the office at that company and said, "We signed Cartier," and everybody would be like.
Don't buy those.
Just don't.
No. I mean, just because
like, a tie-in like the Eddie Bauer edition Outback, that kind of makes at least sense. You at least have the same people shopping at Eddie Bauer that buy an Outback.
Right, but here's the thing. when Ford started that in the early 90s, when they started doing the Eddie Bauer Broncos and the Eddie Bauer Explorers, the nice part about buying an Eddie Bauer was that you did get more for your money. You got a completely different paint job. You got an upgraded interior with upgraded leather. You got monogram seats. It was an actual brand that people, went to and said, okay, we like this.
Actually, correction. I think it was an LL Bean Subaru, but
it was LL Bean. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's one of those things. Now, when you talk about, special edition cars that come out that are good, that you do want to look at, I want to stress, like, go for the mechanical stuff. Go for the stuff that is actually improving the actual drivability and performance of the vehicle, as opposed to just a sticker package, right? So a perfect example of this. I'm gonna ping the Dodge Demons, right? Either 2018 or 2023.
Absolutely.
Demons. Those are special cars with mechanical things that you will not find on any others, right? You might find
not by a small measure either. It's like it's not like they said we're going to add 20 horsepower here. They basically just drop the whole thing and said boom.
Exactly. And they really are. They're limited numbers, limited editions, but the performance was so far above anything else that came out that's a real special edition car.
Yes.
Another one that we kind of spoke about earlier, which is a total oddball of a car, but really interesting. Anybody out there remember the Isuzu Via Cross?
Oh, such a cool car.
So
Now,
far
again,
ahead of
not
its
made
time.
as a limited edition, just
Nope.
happened to become limited edition.
Right, but so far ahead of its time.
Yeah.
Right? When you talk about the crossover, the Via Cross really was the world's first kind of crossover.
That really took the whole sporty, unique aspect of it. I mean, there were some things that were coincidentally crossovers, but not like the AMCs and stuff like that. But that was the one where they really they ran with it. They like, we want to do something really different with a V6 and a cool dual range power system. You know, it was a cool vehicle. But the problem being, my understanding is that it was kind of it was an aluminum substructure. And it's really difficult to repair if you have any incidents with it. So because of that, you don't see many Via Crosses anymore, because basically when you had an incident like a fender bender or something, basically the insurance company just had to throw the car away. They like, it's not worth repairing. So that's unfortunate. So because of that, we've ended up with way fewer Via Crosses in the universe, and that's sad.
And you know what? I want to categorize. I want to swap categories a little bit, and maybe not call these limited editions, but they are, I'm going to say, special cars. Because some of these, like to your point, the Via Cross was not a limited edition, but it is a special car in its own right. So let's talk about it like that. Another one, and you had brought this up, the original Ford, the original Ford Lightning.
Yeah. Ford has a whole history of coming up with these, just like Dodge, where they basically do something mechanically very like head turning, and you're like, what? And the Lightning, it's the fact that like Lady Gaga actually owns one and drives one like as her daily. That just automatically brings it a new level of cool in the modern setting. You know, you can say something's cool, but get a, you know, platinum winning album person to drive one around, all of a sudden it just elevates it. Whether or not that's of interest to you doesn't really matter. It's important to the car. You know, if you had a Lightning, your Lightning value just went up when that happens. And it's a cool truck. I mean, do you remember the specs on the Lightning?
Oh God, off the top of my head. I believe it was
turbocharged.
No, I no. The original one, I don't think was. Now I got to look it up. Damn it.
Yeah, I know. Now, sorry.
Hang on. Now I got to look it up and just see what the specs were. The cool part was when it did come first out, right? You did have a special paint job. You did have special wheels and tires. You did have special brakes on it. The car did have the truck did have special heads. It was lowered to the ground.
Yeah,
I mean, it was a true performance. Now it was an automatic. They never did come in a manual. Here we go. Let's see. Instead of using the hopped up 5-liter engine, and this is courtesy of Motor Trend. Let's see. The 5-liter powering the SVT's most engine. Okay, GT40 iron cylinder heads. It was a 351. 0 to 60 was 7.2 seconds. Let's see. The Lightning made 240 horsepower, 340 pound-feet of torque. That was pretty heavy back in the day.
Back in then, that was big
for the first gen Ford Lightning. That was pretty good. And so now you'll see some special editions like the Lightnings. They don't make. I mean, the new Lightning is an electric. Who cares? But they, when it evolved into kind of the blown truck with the supercharger on it and everything else, they really were. That was a special vehicle that Ford made. And to this day, I think every Lightning owner, sans the new one, knows that they have something special, knows that they have something. They become
caretakers at this point of history, essentially.
They do.
But Ford has a long history of coming up with some of these like special vehicles, like the Raptors. And it's kind of funny because like at this point, having one of the original V8 first gen Raptors is cooler than having a second gen because that's turbo. But I'm going to say I just took delivery of a Ranger Raptor 2 days ago. I put 300 miles on it. And I got to say that if any vehicle is deserving of the special vehicle status, it's this thing. I mean, I just finished filming my first video for it. It'll be out in like a week or so. But, having driven I've driven all the modern trucks. I haven't driven the hybrid Tacoma yet though, but that's coming up. This truck really feels special, and they're in very limited quantities.
So let me ask you this. So you came out of essentially was it like an FX4 Ranger?
Ranger
right?
Tremor, actually. So it had
Ranger
modified
Tremor.
suspension. Yeah.
What's the difference between the Ranger Tremor
Oh, so
and
much of it. I mean, this thing is like 4 inches wider but the same length. So it's like almost more square,
Yeah.
but it looks better. But more important, this actually has a twin turbocharged 6, where my Tremor had a turbocharged 4. And even though I did do the Ford Performance upgrade, I don't remember the exact numbers, but it put me into the 300 horsepower club.
Yeah.
That was a really nice upgrade. Ford just sells it over the counter. It's like this $900 reflash, done, more power. But this one basically takes it to the next level by adding those 2 extra cylinders and 1 extra turbo. And so it's unfortunate though, I haven't actually like totally floored it in this thing yet though, because I'm still breaking it in. But the tires are really wide. I mean, it has
a totally different suspension, right?
Totally. It's Fox, programmable suspension. It has all the different drive modes. It has a front locker, which is not very common. You can get it on the ZR2 and you can get it on the Rubicon Gladiator, but that's it. I mean, it's like it's funny because the F-150 has gotten so big that this Ranger Raptor is way smaller, yet it still kind of feels like a full-size truck from like a decade ago. And I think that's good. It's a good size.
You're talking about that. So, I used to have a really cool old, I had a 95 F-150 single cab short bed, right?
Oh, that was such a cool truck.
It was a great truck. But now if you look at the new Rangers compared to the original F-150s from back in the day, like, early to late 90s or early to mid 90s, they're about the same size.
Yeah.
They're, and lengthwise and everything else. So where certain models have gotten just bigger and bulbous, like my wife and I we just saw a brand new GMC Sierra as 2500. I walked in front and it was stock. I walked in front of it and the hood line was almost at my shoulder. I'm 6'4", and I was like, "Are you
ridiculous?"
Kidding me?
So what happened with Ford a while ago is they dropped the Ranger altogether. And the reason is because you weren't saving money by going with a Ranger. The price between that and F-150 was basically the same, especially if you optioned anything on it. And so they figured there wasn't any room left in it. So they brought back the Ranger in 2019 to the US. Now, granted, they kept selling them globally. They're really popular in Australia. And it's because of Australia that we have this new Ranger Raptor. Thank you, Australia. But I think what happened is that the F-150s, not only did they get bigger, they also got way more feature rich. And so it did open up, it provided an opening for being, I want a truck that's not as big. Like, especially the Raptor is such a big truck.
It's a monster.
You cannot drive it. Like, unless you live in the country, you cannot drive that around town. And I know everybody would be like, I drive a Raptor around town every day. It's
whatever.
Like, yes,
it's not practical. Shut up.
Yeah, exactly. It's absurd how big that truck is. And if you're towing, if you need it, great. If you live in the desert, if you're in Southern California, head out to the desert every week. Fantastic. Awesome. But it's special in that they took the F-150, they made it bigger, like the original F-150 Raptor. They made it so much bigger and they put so much more horsepower in it. It's just a ridiculous truck, and that's why I love it. It's great. There's no practical reason, but also in making that bigger, it made room for the Ranger Raptor. I personally would never have bought a Raptor. It's physically too big. But the Ranger is perfect for me. And it has like 405 horsepower, which is a nice place to be when you're dealing with a truck that weighs 5,500 pounds. This is not a lightweight, but it actually weighs like The funny thing is the Ranger Raptor weighs about 900 pounds more than the standard new gen Ranger. And that's because of all of the suspension work they've done on it. They basically, they made for stronger suspension, all of the extra stuff. It has every single option basically baked in. So you end up with, it adds weight, but that's why they went with the twin turbo 6. So weight's not really an issue. And Ford Performance will probably come out with an upgrade kit for it as well. But I think that's going to be I think the first year Ranger Raptor will be a future collectible.
Yeah,
will
I do.
Keep it forever? Probably not. I'll probably keep it for a year, 8 months. I don't know. Again, I need new vehicles to constantly feed the channel. So aside from the manufactured vehicles, I get two, of course.
Now, okay, another vehicle that I wanted to touch on, and this one is for the performance guys out there, right? Porsche's notorious. I mean, they used to not have as many special vehicles, and now I feel like like you want to talk about the 911, there's an infinite number of 911s that you can buy and build, right?
Yeah.
So now the newest, or one of the newest, is the new 911 Dakar. Now I get it. And Porsche does have a history. They raced the 959 in
They
the
have
Paris
a
Dakar.
legitimate entry to create a Dakar edition.
They do.
Now, if
And
Subaru came out with a BRZ Dakar, I'd roll my eyes because I'd be like, seriously.
But here's the thing. I look at stuff from the perspective that, are the owners actually going to use them? Like, the Dodge Demon. I see demons at dragways. They are being beat to death. Guys, I can't imagine that somebody's going to take their $300,000 Porsche 911 Dakar and go rip it on Pismo.
I honestly think most of the guys who are actually going to off-road a 911, they're going to go partner with
They're going to build it.
No, they'll just
build
rent a Tuthill in the weekend. I mean, because like I went to do I filmed the Kenya Classic Safari a few years ago, and like half the field were Tuthill Porsches. Basically, you rent an entire crew, you rent a 911, you go out, you have a blast for 2 weeks in Africa, and then you fly home. You don't have to worry about a thing. Just write a check.
Well, that's just it. I mean, I look at the same thing goes for Lamborghini with the, what is it called, the Staccato or whatever the hell it is.
Oh yeah, that ridiculous off-roader they built. I love it.
now I gotta look it up. I'm not a Lamborghini guy, so don't yell at me. But it's the Huracan Lamborghini. Let's see what this.
It's the Huracan Storato.
Storato,
so
yes,
close.
Because
you were close.
Yeah, so because if you want to take your Lamborghini off road, and do things with it that essentially any bone stock Subaru Outback could do, but you're going to spend
honestly, I think
$300,000.
Most of the guys who buy these high dollar limited edition off-road specialty vehicles like the Lamborghini, like the Porsche, they're probably going to go out to the California desert. They're going to go whip it around a couple times, say that they did that, and then go back and then probably never do it again. Or if they enjoyed it, they'll do it a couple more times. But they're not going to do like, a grueling off-road adventure with it, unless they're a YouTuber, in which case they bought it for the sake of their channel, and then they'll rip it through a number of ridiculous things that nobody in the right mind would normally do. Because
the thing about these things are, listen, in theory, they're cool. But the fact of the matter is, like the Dakar, like the Lamborghini, these are not off-road machines. Their suspension travel is really,
it's limited.
It's limited. Yes, it's cool. It is cool. And if you gave me one for a day to abuse, I would happily do that.
You would not say
no. No, but if you think you're going to go out and do stuff where you do things that your Wrangler's going to do, you know what I mean? Or any real off-road vehicle, you're sorely mistaken.
A few years ago, at the height of the pandemic, I was in a Porsche dealer. I just happened to be inside a Porsche dealer, and some guy came in, and I overheard the conversation he was having with the sales guy. He's like, "I want to buy a Porsche 911," and the guy's like, "Which one?" He's like, "I don't know. What special edition can I buy right now?" And it's like, what?
Yeah.
He wanted to buy a Porsche to invest in a Porsche. He did not care about driving the Porsche. He did not care about a single specification. All he wanted to know, was it a limited edition? And he put money down then and there on a limited edition that he was going to get at some point in the future. Who knows when? Because it was pandemic. Nobody knew when anything was going to get built.
Right.
And I was like, okay, well I guess that market exists for those people because so many people have done well on flipping Porsches. But there's going to be a finite number of those people, I think. And also, you never know what the economy is going to do. If the economy takes a dump, you're stuck with a vehicle that you're making payments on possibly, or doesn't have that value. Now, I know, like with this Ranger Raptor I just bought, I should be able to sell it for equal to what I bought it for or more if I sell it within a year. Beyond that, they will do another production run next year, and at that point, it might devalue it. But either way, I have a cool truck. I don't care.
And here's the thing. I think that
if I win, I win. If I don't, that's fine. I still have a fun truck.
Right. I would, I think we could sum this up like this. If you're going to buy any kind of special edition, buy the special edition because of what it does, not anything more than that. So listen, the 911 Dakar, the Huracan off-road, their special editions, and will they do things above and beyond what a normal 911 and a normal Huracan will do? 1,000%, 100%, right?
Mm-hmm.
I guess if I see stuff like that, I like to see them used, and I hate seeing vehicles that are built for a specific purpose that aren't used, right? So that's one. Two, stay away from things that are just a sticker package or a movie package, or because you know what? In honestly,
we forgot to mention the Mitsubishi Lancer Rally Art package, which had 15-inch OZ wheels,
and that was it.
Sticker. That was it. And it was a crummy car.
Don't stay away from stuff like that. Stay away from stuff that, because what happens is, say you buy a car that's a movie edition of this. Honestly, I think you're hurting resale value. You are not enhancing resale value in any way. Nobody is going to look at your Transformer Camaro and go, "Oh my God, I can't wait." I got news. It's 2024. Your 16-year-old, even if you hand it down, is going to be like, "I don't know, I want to Transformer Camaro, Dad." Like, I'm not
cringe,
I'm not
Dad.
12. Yeah, I'm not 12. If you're looking at cars that are, or and trucks that have significant performance enhancement, and by that we're talking significant suspension, significant engine, different interior treatment, stuff like that. Cool. I think most importantly, though, make sure you buy it because you like it. Make sure you buy it, that you're honest with yourself, so that when you drive it, that special edition feels special. And that in 2 years, you're not looking back on it going, "Oh man, I got suckered into this one." Don't ever be that person if you can avoid it. Otherwise, my God, I think one day I'm going to have to do a complete list of special editions from all the manufacturers, because we just touched on a bunch, and there are so many more, special cars. And man, that would actually be a really fun video series to do.
It would be really long.
We
track
could do
down who signed off on that. What was it? It wasn't Cavassier. What was it? Cartier.
Cartier. No, they're long dead and fired. So yeah, So
I was at the club, and this guy came up.
Yeah. Don't buy into all the don't buy into all the hype. Stray away from some of the marketing. Do your own research. If you're buying something that's a special edition, buy something that's truly special.
And also, one more thing on that: be patient. If you really, really want a special edition, and you know that in a year or so there might be additional units, like for example, Ranger Raptor, they will be probably pretty common in a couple of years. Because as they respond to market demand and they increase production, be patient. I ordered this truck last June 1st is when I ordered it. And I just took delivery 2 days ago. And I am one of the first deliveries of this truck in the US. Yeah. And just because first production run, I got in on the first production run. And that was simply because I worked with a dealer that I bought multiple trucks from. And they're like, "You're a good customer. We're going to let you be number one." Not because you're a YouTuber, not because you're famous with 5 people, but because you're a good customer. And you kind of have to build that relationship. Like the Porsche dealer, they're not going to give you the special edition one-off Dakar if you just walk in and buy it. You have to have owned other Porsches. So to get something that's truly special, if you walk in and you're like, "I want that special edition," they're like, "Sold." You're like, you should question, was that really a worthwhile special edition if nobody else wanted it?
Yeah.
So have patience, have relationships with dealers or whomever you're buying with, or wait until a good one comes up on the market, for used. If you're looking for a used one, wait for the right one. Don't just rush and buy the first one because, it's low miles. Oh, it was a rental. Oh,
yeah. We'll talk about all the Hertz Mustangs out there in another show.
That's its own story.
Own story. So everybody, thanks so much for tuning into the podcast, the Hot Rod BBQ. Ryan, thanks again for joining, as per always.
Before you do your close, though, Mike, post a comment below if you're watching this on YouTube. What's your favorite limited edition that we did not talk about?
Yeah, that's true, because I'm sure there's some. Because here's the thing, we're going to revisit this, because as we were putting a list together, we're like, "Oh my God, we're going to leave this out. We're going to leave this." There's so many that we want to talk about. But also, go to Hemmings.com, find your dream car, look at our classifieds, auction, make offer pages. Go to Hemmings.com/MusclePalooza. Check out the shows that are coming up, because I will be there. Would love to see you, meet some of the listeners in person like I did this past weekend. And that's it, folks. Until next time, we'll see you later.
See ya.
Thanks for listening, folks. And again, please subscribe to the Hot Rod BBQ podcast. If you're on Spotify, check us out there. Subscribe to it on iTunes. And if you are going to go to YouTube, make sure you go to the Hot Rod BBQ podcast and hit that subscribe button. And we'll come to you every week.